शिव तत्व, ऑथर युगतुलसी, पद्म भूषण परम पूज्य डॉक्टर श्री रामकिंकरजी महाराज. Chapter 2, Curiosity. Goswamiji's intention of Shiv's devotion is not only outer worship but the actual worship of Shiv's essence. Goswamiji in Vandana Prasang clears his concept related to Shiv. He depicts Parvati and Shankar as reverence and faith. Bhavani Shankara Vande Shraddha Vishwas Rupino Yabhyam Vina na Pashyanti Siddha Swantha Sthamishwaram. Therefore, at one place he says that without Shiv's grace, Ram's devotion cannot be achieved, while in another place he wrote that without faith, devotion is not possible. बिनु विश्वास भगति नहीं, तेहि बिनु द्रवहि न राम. These sentences, which seem to establish mutually dissimilar concepts, start displaying unity. We understand Shiv and faith as two names of the same element. Faith is the foundation of bhakti. But what is meant by faith? The popular notion about faith is such as if faith is that cave where we can hide all our realistic and unrealistic beliefs to keep them safe. To avoid intelligence or reasoning, we can use faith as a shield. Hence, one word is attached to faith, that is blind faith. That is why an intellectual looks down upon faith as lowly and foolish. But on analyzing Manas, it becomes clear that this definition is not acceptable to Goswamiji because the faith that he has described in Manas is not blind but with eyes, and more so, not having only 2 eyes but 3 eyes. For a common man, the most reliable proof are eyes. He trusts his 2 eyes the most, but the power of these eyes is limited. They get deceived so many times. Hence, we may save ourselves from the disgrace of blindness by trusting our eyes, but mostly the one who claim to be intelligent are the ones acting blindly. Faith does not mean to become blind or destroying the 2 eyes. Instead, it aims at acquiring the 3rd eye. This 3rd eye is the testing parameter of truth. Falseness cannot stand before it because it has the power of destruction. It has fire which can destroy falsehood in a moment, but it is absorbed in nectar by the sight of truth. That is why both Kam or lust and Ram are brought before Shiv of Manas. Kam, तब शिव तीसर नयन उघारा, चितवत काम भयौ जरिछारा. राम, शंकरु राम रूप अनुरागे, नयन पंच 10 अति प्रिय लागे. Our 2 physical eyes can be useful and validating for external behavior, but there is so much beyond it too that cannot be seen and tested without the 3rd eye of wisdom. The faith in Manas is the result of knowing absolutely well and not of incapability. In general terms, faith depicts helplessness. We accept what we are unable to understand. This faith can never be authentic because doubt has not been destroyed from the root. It becomes dormant, and when time comes, it comes up again. This faith has that captiveness which inspires protest as soon as it gets a chance. But the real faith is the result of that realization, after which such strong-rooted faith arises where nothing is left to be known. In this regards, it seems that knowledge is absent there, but fundamentally it is the epitome of absolute realized knowledge. Hence, Goswami ji accepts clearly. जाने बिनु होई प्रतीति, बिनु प्रतीति होई नहीं प्रीति. Generally, a huge mistake is made in understanding faith. A person with eyes also shuts his eyes in his bedroom in relaxation. Then only can he relax. But that lack of vision, though similar to blindness, is completely different from it. To prove oneself having eyes, the one who keeps his eyes open even in the sleeping room can never have true relaxation and sleep. The nature of the faith of the devotees is such they are not seeing. Hence, there is nothing more to see. He is sleeping in a sleep of true carefreeness. Still, his sleep is devoid of ignorance. In the words of Goswami ji, सकल दृश्य निज उदर मेली सोवै निद्रा तजी जोगी सोई हरिपद अनुभवै परम सुख अतिशय द्वैत वियोगी. The completeness of knowledge is the realized faith. Hence, Manas Mastro Lord Shiv is Gyan, realized knowledge, as well as personified faith and the giver of devotion. The knowledge which does not get transformed into faith, it is useless to call it as knowledge. Its correct name is doubt. Knowledge is not just negation, it is also acceptance. Hence, as it takes the form of acceptance, it turns into faith. Goswami ji depicts a very moving portrayal of Sati and Shiv. Sati has doubt. She can be called curiosity because in the form of Parvati, she is the reverence of Manas. When Lord Shankar sees Lord Ram crying in search of Sita ji and bows to him, calling him Satchidanand, then only it is the true test of faith. This scene was about the Brahma crying and searching like an ignorant man. If there was not completeness of faith, then it was enough to waver from faith. But no, the faith was complete. जय सच्चिदानंद जग पावन अस कही चलेओ मनोज न सावन. But Sati is accompanying. She is the daughter of Daksh. It is natural for her to be proud of her intelligence. That is why doubt arises in her mind. It is clear that her whole reasoning mechanism is based on the trust on her eyes. She does not trust the proof of the three-eyed. Her direct reasoning is ब्रह्म जो व्यापक बिरज अज अकल अनीह अभेद सो कि देह धरी होय नर जाहि न जानत वेद. He cannot be Vishnu because even he is omniscient. How can he search for Sita ji as an ignorant man? In a normal way, there is no fault with her reasoning mechanism, but Shiv tries to resolve this unrealistic reasoning, which looks reasonable superficially. But seeing that she is not satisfied with it, asks her to test. Then the whole sequence, taking the guise of Janki ji to test omniscience, to return with fear after being recognized by Lord Ram in the end. But the most shocking was Sati ji speaking untruth with Lord Shiv. After curiosity, there should be realization of truth and acceptance. But what could be a greater nerve than the fact of omniscience on which she too had a staunch faith? Shiv Sarvagya Jan Sab Koi. She hid from him. It is clear that curiosity alone is not enough for realization of truth and bearing its results. Reverence is needed for it. Hence, Sati had to shun one form of hers which was dominated by intelligence and had to take a new form which has the prominence of resoluteness and devotion, her Shalja form. The story of the destruction of Daksh Yagya is very touching. Brahma appointed Daksh as Prajapati as he was happy with him. This was the certificate of his worthiness. But the pride which was hidden in spite of this worthiness exploded on getting the authority, and it got expression in such a pious thing as yagya. All the deities are invited in that yagya, excluding only Shiv. Daksh considers himself superior to Shiv. This conflict of intelligence and faith is eternal. Egoistic Daksh, who symbolizes cleverness, invites all the other practices but excludes faith. The thing on which the realization of yagya is based is faith. Kavniyo siddhi ki binu viswasa. But Daksh disrespects faith. Curiosity is on one hand the daughter of Daksh and the better half of Shiv on the other hand. She has attachment and affection for both. This is not only Sati's issue but the portrayal of the problem and conflict of every seeker. They have to choose one between Daksh and Shiv, but their inner conflict inspires them to carry on with both the relationships. That is why, on one hand, she wants to go to father's yagya even after being uninvited. On the other hand, she asks for permission for the same from Shiv. In spite of Shiv's advice, still on account of Pita Bhavan Utsav Param, she is unable to give up on the attraction of going to her father's home. Shiv is compelled to grant permission. On reaching Daksh Yagya, the sight Sati saw becomes intolerable for her. Because of her being related to Shiv, Daksh did not feel the need of even inquiring about her well being, and she now understands the reality on seeing the complete absence of Shiv's share in the yagya. The fatherhood and conditioning of Daksh divides her of intimacy with Shiv. On the other hand, it is not possible for her to get the respect of Daksh on account of being Shiv's wife. She has to decide today that between Daksh and Shiv, who does she consider to be her ideal? Even though Sati harbored attachment in her heart for Daksh, but on this occasion she did not make any mistake in her decision. She has true love for Lord Shiv in her heart. Hence, she takes upon the determination to leave her physical body she got from Daksh and offers it in the fire of the yagya. But her last wish is Janam Janam Shiv Pad Anuraga. Curiosity has to transcend to reverence. Only then it can be worthy of faith. Hence, it is desirable to become the daughter of Himachal instead of Daksh. The destruction of Daksh Yagya was inevitable. All the practices are futile in the absence of faith. This is the significance of the story. It can also be called as the punishment by the ego of the totality to the individual ego, because Shiv has also been portrayed in Manas as ego of the whole existence. Yagya is actually the worship of the whole by an individual, but sometimes its aim is to have control over the whole by empowering the individual with great capacity and power. And such a yagya, while resembling a yagya and worship on the exterior, is actually contrary to the pious intention of the yagya. Yagya is the surrender of the individual before the totality, and not for making an individual more powerful than the whole. Hence, even the gods of Yagya have to destroy such Yagyas. The destruction of Daksh Yagya by Shiv and the destruction of Meghnad's Yagya by Lord Ram is significant of this fact. Sati takes a new birth after renouncing her body at the place of Himachal, the king of mountains. Himalaya is selfless, tolerant, and immovable. The most important thing is that it has the abode of Shiv at its forehead. The emotions that are expected from reverence, Shraddha, seem to appear through Himachal. Actually, these two forms are present before our lives to choose from, to give our intellect a place, whether we want to make our intellect Daksh's daughter or Himalaya's daughter. The choice of majority of us is towards intelligence. We want to be clever by intellect. It has its benefits too. Daksh achieves the position of Prajapati. Daksh gets the respect of the people naturally. But most often, intelligence takes the form of display of ego in the end, and the result is destruction. In the vision of Manas, the real utility of intellect is in faith and forbearance, because intellect, having reverence, is desirable for universal welfare. But the story does not end in this only. The union of reverence and faith, which is portrayed in the form of Parvati and Shiv's marriage, it is a complete illustration of the difficulties arising in the path of the union of reverence and faith. It is very sweet but equally intense and of significance. Chapter 2 ends.